This is going to be a big jump, but I need y'all to stay with me. General Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender and James Cook from this book right here, The Wide, Wide Sea by Hampton Sides, come from two very different worlds, but both of them represent the same struggle, doing your duty for your country and later regretting the cost of that service. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. My name's Chris and I know how to read. Allegedly. And today we are going to be exploring how duty, regret, and resistance shaped the lives of these two people, one fictional and one historical. For those of y'all who don't know, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a 3-season-long Nickelodeon cartoon where Aang, the last of the air nomads, is the Avatar, and using his knowledge of the 4 elements, must stop the Fire Nation's century-long war in order to save the world. It is also one of my favorite TV shows ever, which I have the Blu-ray of right here. He does this alongside a bunch of friends and newfound family, Sokka, Katara, Toph, all of these characters, one of them being named Iroh, the Dragon of the West, who eventually in the later seasons becomes a very large part in Aang's physical and spiritual journey to defeat the Fire Nation. Iroh once embodied the very definition of the Fire Nation's power. He led armies, he commanded respect from everyone around him, and he laid siege to the walled city of Ba Sing Se for 600 days. When we talk about a man who was locked in to what his job was and like caring for his country, for his nation, we're talking about General Iroh. But everything changed when his son passed away, Lu Ten, and that was when he realized that his sense of duty, everything he had been fighting for, just wasn't worth it. One of the saddest episodes of kids television of all time is when he sings that song to his dead son in the TV show, which was also a reference to the first voice actor for Iroh, who also passed away. So not only was this song being sung for the fictional character of Iroh's son, but it was also being sung for the actual voice actor that passed away by the succeeding voice actor for Iroh. It's a crazy moment. If y'all haven't seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, you're gonna understand by the end of this video. You should probably watch it. After the death of his son, Iroh kind of rejects the rampant militarism that is the Fire Nation and instead turns to wisdom and spirituality and compassion. He goes from being this fire-breathing general, something that even the most skilled firebenders can't do, goes from being this wartime general to being this tea shop owning uncle who loves his tea and his board games. And I have a quote from him right here after he kind of goes through this transformation. He says, "It is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If we take it only from one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Understanding others, the other elements, and the other nations will help you to become whole." Iroh, from a couple decades before he gets to this point in this life, would have rejected this mindset immediately. And this quote from Iroh about understanding others and understanding their way of life actually relates to James Cook, surprisingly. Who would have thought a white man from the 1700s would have known something about compassion? James Cook was a naval officer. He was an explorer. His whole job, he was a cartographer. He was sent by the British government to map out unknown lands and to find unknown lands and claim them for the British Empire. And very much like Iroh in his past, Cook was brilliant and passionate and determined to get his job done. By the time we join him in this book, I don't know if y'all could tell from right here, we are learning about his third and last voyage. His previous 2 voyages, he's the 1700s version of a celebrity. People knew him because he was so good at his job, and everyone just knew if the British government sent him to do something, he's going to get it done. And one of the things that made me think about General Iroh when I was reading this book is that idea of compassion, right? Was General Iroh a perfect man? Absolutely not. Neither is James Cook. But one of the things that he did that's actually talked about a lot in this book is he was a lot more compassionate towards these indigenous tribes than almost every other explorer known to man. And every time he got on his ship and he went off exploring with this massive crew, his voyages brought on a bunch of knowledge and a bunch of prestige for him and his crew members, and more importantly, the British government. But they also brought on a bunch of violence and a bunch of resistance and cultural loss to all of these islands and indigenous tribes and villages in the Pacific. I have a quote from, there is there's a very extensive author's note in the beginning of the book that I think did a great job of kind of laying everything out as we learn about James Cook and as we skip a bunch of time because we're like start the book at his third voyage. The author's note says, Cook's voyages are passionately contested, especially in Polynesia, viewed as the start of the systematic dismantling of traditional island cultures that historian Alan Moorhead famously called the fatal impact. Moorhead said that he was interested in that fateful moment when a social capsule is broken into, and Cook's expedition certainly provided an excellent case study of the phenomenon. Taken together, his voyages form a morally complicated tale that has left a lot for modern sensibilities to unravel and critique. Eurocentrism, patriarchy, entitlement, toxic masculinity, cultural appropriation, the role of invasive species in destroying island biodiversity. Cook's voyages contain the historical seeds of these and many other current debates. And the interesting thing about Cook is that he was much more aware of his image, both to these indigenous tribes and with the British government and the British people, than the average explorer at the time. Syds talks about multiple times about whenever Cook found a new people or a new island or discovered a new people or a new island, if you know what I mean, he was much like he did not care about making sure that they converted to their religion or making sure that they adopted their customs. All he cared about was making sure that these lands swore their loyalty to the British crown, the British Empire. Is that still bad? Yes, don't get me wrong. But it's certainly on a whole different level in like a better way than a lot of these other more famous, more militant explorers at the time. And what really unites these two complicated characters in Iroh and Cook is their cost of duty, like what it took for them to get the job done. For Iroh, it was pretty dramatic. When he failed to siege Ba Sing Se at the end of 600 days, when his son passed away, that was enough for him. And for Cook, it was the tolls of these expeditions, right? It was the years at sea that took a mental and physical toll on him. And it also was the mounting resistances of these people that he's quote unquote discovering. He even notes that in the past, a lot of tribes, a lot of people would just be like, okay, sure, we'll sign with the British government if you want us to. And now more tribes are fighting back. And this is something that Cook was not expecting and was not used to. And because of these major shifts in how they conducted their day-to-day, both of these men decided to kind of turn their lives around, right? Iroh did so by seeking wisdom and compassion and seeking knowledge. And Cook, in his final voyage, in those final years of his life, began to experience a lot of resistance and a lot of hostility that in his old, weathered, kind of beaten down age, he was not able to fight back against. I think Iroh and Cook fall in this line of people where they are the physical embodiments of contradiction, right? Because both of them faithfully served their government. They faithfully served their nations. And if you look at them just by their like military record, they did pretty well. But then you look deeper into that military record, you look deeper into their duty and their service, and you realize that their duty and service is marked by evil and wrongdoing and resistance, both resistance from others and resistance from themselves. Iroh went against everything he learned as a general in the Fire Nation, everything he learned just growing up in that kind of militaristic environment, and decided to teach his Prince Zuko compassion and balance and respect. I think in a similar way to Iroh, but still in contrast to, while Cook was facing all of this, like more and more resistance from these tribes, from these people that he was still trying to dominate. Like he might think he was being nice about it, but he was still trying to dominate these tribes for the British government. His eventual death in Hawaii really serves as kind of like the breaking point at the time to imperial conquest. I know one of these characters is a fictional uncle who can breathe fire. I get that, right? But I think both of these people show us the human cost of an empire, what it takes to build one and how quickly one can fall. These two characters ask us, what does it mean to fulfill your duty, to do what you're told, to make a legend of yourself, if the duty that you are doing causes insane amounts of harm, probably unknown amounts of harm to people and cultures around you. Even though Iroh eventually turns his back from the Fire Nation, and even though James Cook, at least we know in the book, felt some type of negative way about everything, or at least some things that the British government were doing in their conquest, in their imperialism, can redemption exist after you did all of these bad things to build the empire that you didn't fully agree with in the first place? And I think Iroh, even though he's fictional, kind of gives us this idea of a hopeful answer to those questions, right? That you can regret and you can resist and choose another path, and at least in Avatar: The Last Airbender, be a part of bringing down the oppressors and being part of bringing down this oppressive regime that you were once a part of. And I think on the other side of that coin, Cook's journey and Cook's story leaves us with like a cautionary tale about what the true limits of our duty actually are, and just how destructive of a weight conquest can be, both physically and emotionally and mentally. And when you're looking at General Iroh and when you're looking at James Cook, even though these characters and these people are quite literally universes apart, you know, I think they serve as an illustration to how this sense of allegiance, this sense of duty to an empire can shape, can haunt, and can ultimately break those who fully intended on serving it. One of these people found peace in this journey and found peace in this knowledge, while the other died being incredibly loyal to his empire on the very journey that he swore to complete. And I think both of these characters, fictional or non-fictional, remind us that the past is filled with the echoes of empire, the ones that survived and the ones that didn't. That's going to be it for today's video, y'all. I've been having a really fun time recording these kind of essay style videos where I try to connect popular culture to something that I'm reading, and I'm having a very good time. I hope that y'all like videos like these because I love making them. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, all that good business. I'll take one of them, I'll take all of them, depending on how busy and or nice you are. Let me know if y'all have read The Wide Sea, and if you haven't, I highly recommend it. One of my favorite non-fictions of the year. Let me know if y'all have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I have the Blu-ray, I've seen it a bunch of times. Let me know what your opinions on Korra are as well. I know that one's a little more controversial, but I enjoyed it very much. I promise in next week's video we'll get back to a reading vlog or something similar. I've had both of these topics, the one in this video and the one that released last week, in my head for so long, and I just needed to get them out there while I catch up on my TBR. So I promise we will get back to the reading vlogs eventually. Do something that makes you happy, do something that makes you some money, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace. Light work, baby!